The views and opinions expressed at the visa section are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily represent the official views or positions of the company. All content provided by the hosts and guests reflects their personal opinions and is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Hi, welcome to the Visa section here on Enhanced Down Under. My name is Anna, I am your host, and I am a Certified Education Agent Counselor at Enhanced NT, a Visa and Migration Specialist here in Darwin. So today we will be discussing critical issues and recent changes to immigration policies affecting Australia's international education sector. Year 2024 has been filled with stricter visa regulations that significantly affected the international education. So we have seen a lot of students and even schools and education providers faced a lot of challenges, and according to them, 2024 was the toughest year for them. Although most of them, of course, most of the education providers, most of the partners, they are very creative in overcoming the challenges. Before we discuss the recent changes that have been implemented, let us discuss how important the international education sector in Australia, how big this education sector is. They say that international education sector is Australia's third largest export, valued at over 40 billion annually. So it is that big. It is the third largest export sector, behind only iron and coal, and the largest services export. So if the international education is that huge, we expect that those significant changes would also give huge impact, not just to the economy, but also to the people. So international students, they contribute significantly to the economy through tuition fees, accommodation, living expenses, and tourism. And personally, I witnessed that because most of the Enhanced NT's partners, the companies that we are partnering with, they get their employment, they get their staff from the international students. And now that Australia is starting to become stricter in letting them come in, it is even more challenging because NT, or the Northern Territory, Darwin, is very short of staff. Some businesses here are closing down, not because they don't have not because they don't have customers or they don't have enough patrons, but because they don't have enough staff. With less international students to expect, that is even a greater challenge to them. So that is correct. They also contribute to tuition fees. With the partner schools, they were actually worried because how come? How would they be able to cope with that challenge? Some, of course, are very lucky because the greater or the bigger chunk of their students are domestic, locals, and only a smaller portion are coming from the international sector. However, those that that get their students from abroad, or they get international students, they face even greater challenges. So some, of course, are very creative. Some partner schools, they have become very creative in promoting their schools. They even actually pumped up the promotion of ELICOS, or English Language Intensive Course, for overseas students. Because ELICOS, it's not covered by the stricter visa rules. So that's one of the major solutions that they thought of and that they have actually considered. So, and another thing is this sector, the international sector, supports jobs across multiple industries. That is correct, just like what I have mentioned earlier. And then Australia is a top destination for international education due to its high quality institutions, multicultural society, and post-study work opportunities. Australia is known for its diverse culture. Here in Darwin, you see that it is very diverse, and with less international students, we can expect less diversity. And of course, that is one of those major challenges. But now let us discuss the major changes, or the major changes that have been implemented or introduced in 2024. Okay. Let me just mention the first three. I will discuss in detail later. Number one is the cancellation of the National Planning Levels, NPL, capping of student enrollees nationwide. It is more known as CAP. Meaning they are going to limit the coming of international students here in Australia. So that's just number one. Number two is the cancellation of the Ministerial Direction 107, and then the immediate implementation the next day of the Ministerial Direction 111. So I will discuss later in details. Other than that, the major changes implemented in 2024 that really impacted the international education was first introduced in January 2024. I believe, if I may recall, they increased the English level proficiency even from the vet schools. So from 5.5 then they increased to 6. So vet schools, vocational schools, some of them actually prior to January 2024, some of the schools are not even required to have their students take up IELTS or PTE. They can just show evidence that the student is able to understand English, as English is a medium of instruction used in the home country prior to coming to Australia, or the student has an option to take their in-house English level test. However, come January 2024, it was introduced, it was implemented that the IELTS or PTE is already required, and then with a higher proficiency level from 5.5 for vet schools, it was up to 6. And then for those aiming to enter universities or uni to get a degree, 6 to 6.5. So that's the number one challenge. Then second, they increased the, the funds, the evidence of funds. From close to 20,000 Australian dollars, the evidence of fund was increased to 24,000. And then just a few months after, it became 29,000 something. And that is just the minimum amount. Imagine. And they're not yet done with that. The visa fee for a subclass 500, that is the student visa fee, from 710, they doubled it. Now it's 1,600 Australian dollars. So it's like people are thinking, come on, Australia, are you really, in a subtle manner, are you closing your borders to us? Probably. Or, well, in my opinion, it is the Australian government's way to lessen the migration, because, well, according to the Home Affairs, the influx of international students more than doubled after the pandemic. As soon as they opened their borders in 2021, the influx of international students was overwhelming. And eventually, they blamed that. They blamed the influx of students, the population of students, to housing shortage.
From portraits to event coverage, DKJ Photo Studio offers exceptional photography services tailored to your needs. Book your session today and experience the difference with DKJ Studio. Contact us at 0410151547 or visit us at Unit 5, 90 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT.
So the international students were blamed because with the housing shortage, they took the blame was put into them, and that was very unfortunate. And in my opinion, it's not the international students, when they come here, they don't buy houses. It's either they live with their relatives or they live in dormitory types or apartments, in a shared apartment. So I don't know how they see it as a problem in housing, and they blame the students for that, the international students. But anyway, that is the government's decision to somehow lessen the migration. And now let us move on. What are the major changes in international education policies? Major changes. Number 1, cancellation of national planning levels, or NPL, capping of student enrollees nationwide. This one, it's been so controversial. Like, come mid-2024, it's already a huge news in Australian education sector, international education sector. So let us begin. Let us explain what is the National Planning Level, or NPL. According to Study NT, the National Planning Level cap, what it means to us, it was introduced in August 2024, and wherein the Australian government announced that NPL will put limits on the growth of international student programs each year. So for 2025, new student commencement numbers for Australian universities will be set around 2023 levels. So it's like going back to the pre-pandemic days. Before, they were very welcoming to international students. Now they are reverting. They are saying that, hey, enough. We have to cap the number of international students. So it was expected to be implemented in January 2025. So how international student numbers are affected? They say that the international students will be limited to 270,000 only. And it will be shared by universities and VET providers, vocational schools. So public universities will have each would have their own allocation. The public universities, the VET schools, and even the private universities. So 270,000 only. And out of 270,000, the biggest chunk would go to the public universities, which would have 145,000 students. It will be divided to public universities. And then next is the private universities. They will get 30,000. And the bigger allocation would go to VET providers or vocational schools, which is 95,000. However, that number is still too small, considering that there are a lot of vocational schools and colleges. And those vocational schools, it's even divided in two. There's public and private. They say that this is very discriminatory because public VET schools run or funded by public government, they have better reputation. So when you enroll in public VET schools, you can expect that you'd face little hurdles as compared to you are going to a private vocational college. But anyway, we will discuss later. So the VET providers, they will get around 95,000 students. And this means that most public universities in Australia will be able to enroll more international students. So However, there are some sectors that are exempted from this cap. Number one, of course, high school, grades 1 to 12, they're not included. So you were thinking of sending your son to study in high school, that will not be counted as included in the cap. And ELI course, or English courses. That's why, again, as I mentioned earlier, some of our providers, they expanded their ELI course, or English language program, which is, a very, very, very wise move. So, because ELI course is considered as standalone. And then, also excluded is the Australian government-sponsored scholars. They're not included in the cap. So, it was supposed to be implemented, the cap was supposed to be implemented January 2025. And our partners, they very well prepared for it. Although, of course, it would be challenging for them, but they started tapping the domestic market even more. However, NPL, in a very unexpected twist of events, NPL was cancelled. So why was it cancelled? How come it was cancelled when around last quarter of 2024, it was like a sure ball, and everyone was scared of it and was already preparing for it. So it was cancelled because it failed to get the support of the Senate. The opposition, they did not support it. So here's the further details about this. Okay. According to Study Australia, this is their official website. The proposed student cap 2025 policy update, the proposed cap system for 2025 has not been confirmed. So this is from the official website of the government, studyaustralia.gov.au. So this was unexpected. I heard the news in November 2025, and I was like, how come? I thought that they were already very well prepared to implement that. What happened? Well, the bill to implement the cap, it was blocked in the Australian Senate due to opposition from political parties and stakeholders in the education sector, who argued that it would harm Australia's global education standing and economy. There were Senate hearings conducted, and some of the partners, some of the known in education sector, they gave their opinion, and they appealed to the people and to the government that this would be harmful to the education sector. Please consider us. So I don't know what happened. Maybe they really thought that, yeah, it could significantly harm the industry. That's why they did not support it. The opposition did not support it. So it was supposed to be implemented this January, but the bill was, it did not happen. So it's already been removed from the list of discussions, and it's not expected to reappear anytime soon.
Whether you're hosting a special event in our function hall, holding meetings or workshops in our multi-purpose room, bringing your ideas in our shared workspace, or capturing memories in our professional photo studio, we have it all in one place. We'll help turn your vision into reality. Contact us at 0410151547 for details, or visit us at Unit 5, 90 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. DKJ Studio, your hub for creativity and events.
NPL, it was just one of the major changes in 2024. The second major change, the implementation and controversy of MD 107, or Ministerial Direction 107. It was cancelled in December, and let's discuss. What is MD 107, or Ministerial Direction 107? It is a directive aimed to control international student numbers. So this framework was introduced in December 2023 that assigns risk levels to education providers based on their visa approval rates and compliance. So to give you a better understanding, I'll give you an example. So provider A, school A, it is a well-established public university with a high rate of successful student visa approvals and strict compliance with immigration rules. So this education provider, this school, would face fewer hurdles when applying for their student visas. Why? Because they are considered low risk. That is provider A, school A. School B or provider B is a private college with a history of more visa rejections and occasional compliance issues. So this provider would be classified as high risk. Students applying to this college might experience more scrutiny during the visa process. And I've witnessed it happen to some of our partner schools. They became more careful in getting international student applications because if the visa application of that student is rejected, it would affect the image and standing of their college. I know one prospective international student whose application had already been forwarded to the Home Affairs for processing, and her application had been ongoing for like 3 months. However, the school contacted her and advised her to just withdraw her application because they see a greater chance of refusal. Hence, if it's refused, it would affect the standing of their school. So the student, of course, she had no choice but to just inform the Home Affairs that she's not pushing through with her application anymore. That is one of the controversy of this MD or Ministerial Direction 107. It is controversial because they say that it is unfair to private providers. It is very discriminatory, they say. Public institutions like universities or vet schools operated or funded by the government, they are exempt from risk level updates. They're very lucky. So if you are applying to a public university or public TAFE or college, you have greater chance of having your application granted, or at least you'll receive less scrutiny. So while private colleges, they face tougher rules. The recent discussion to freeze changes for public institutions but enforce them on private colleges, it sparked backlash, of course. They say, why you are so being unfair? How come that we private providers, you are treating us this way? In my opinion, you cannot blame the government to do so. Why? Because there are a lot of private colleges that appeared, especially during the pandemic, they appeared like mushrooms. And unfortunately, they were just like this, like some of them, not all of them, of course. A lot of them are legit, but some, they're like diploma mill. They just give you diploma, and then even if you don't really come to their school to study, you will get your diploma no matter what. So the quality of the international education is also being affected because of those not very good, not reputable private schools or private colleges. So that is actually a way of the government to ensure that quality education is still being implemented in Australia. And then second, they say it's controversial because it has this impact on students because students from high-risk providers and countries experience higher visa rejection rates, limiting opportunities to study in Australia. There are some students from, passport holders from certain countries that are considered high risk. Unfortunately, my home country, Philippines, during that time, it was considered as high risk. I don't know what happened. Pre-pandemic days and even during the pandemic, it was a low-risk country and the visa approval rate was high. Then come 2024, it was it was considered as high risk already, that when the colleges, they see that the applicant is from the Philippines and it's offshore, meaning outside of Australia, they don't accept the students. They don't bother to issue the certificate of the letter of offer anymore, because they say that this is from a high-risk country. We cannot accept. And then those are the two main reasons why the Ministerial Direction MD 107 was controversial. But it was replaced. It was replaced by Ministerial Direction 111. Okay, Ministerial Direction 107, MD 107, was implemented in December 2023, but was cancelled on December 18. The following day, 19th of December, the MD 107 was immediately replaced by MD 111. So, on December 19, 2024, the visa processing priorities to indicative enrollment caps managed by PRISMs, or it's an app actually. So, institutions receive priority processing until 80% of their caps are reached. That is for MD 111. That is the difference between the two. MD 107, they categorize schools, education providers, and countries from low risk to high risk, while MD 111, they give priority to institutions who haven't reached their threshold of 80%. Like, for example, this college, they are given allocation of, let's say, 1,000, and they haven't reached the 80% allocation. So they will be considered a priority. So if a student visa applicant, if they receive the student visa application from this college, and this college or this university hasn't reached its threshold yet, it will be considered priority. But if that education provider has already reached is already beyond its 80% threshold, then applications would not be considered a priority. They can expect a longer processing time. That is the difference between the two. So, what MD 111 means for stakeholders? So, with the revocation of MD 107, the controversial ministerial instruction has now been replaced with this new ministerial direction that ties visa processing to indicative cap limits for each Australian institution. So, the effect for students applying to high-demand institutions may face longer wait times. That is correct. So, if the institution exceeds its 80% threshold, they can expect a longer visa processing time. Now, they say that the processing time is not as long as before. When I say as long as before, because there were student applications that finalized in 6 or 7 months. Unlike before that, it only takes about 2 weeks or a month to have your visa finalized or granted or approved. Now, from last year, it's like 6 months. Now they say that for students applying to colleges or universities that have already exceeded their threshold, they expect longer waiting times. They did not indicate how long is the waiting time though. So, for institutions, the effect would be, it could create operational challenges, nearing their indicative caps. For those institutions that are nearing their caps, that could be very challenging. Like, for example, provider A, I'm nearing my 80% cap. What will I do? So, what would happen to those students who are enrolled in my university or in my institution? So, private colleges already vulnerable under MD 107, they may continue to experience difficulty attracting students due to slowed visa processing. As for in the economic sector, although MD 111 avoids formal caps, That's the difference kasi yung MD-111, it's no longer implementing the NPL or the capping. But its implementation effectively acts as a de facto cap on enrollment. So it's like saying na, yeah, you removed the NPL or the capping has been removed. Thank you, yeah, hey, no. We have this MD-111 that would still restrict students from coming here. So it's just, they just sort of change the name or change the strategy, but the effect is still the same.
Unleash your potential and bring your ideas to life at DKJ Studios Shared Workspace. We are located at Unit 5, 90 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. For more info, follow us at Design Car John Facebook page. You may call us at +61 0879792352 or contact us at 0410151547 for bookings or inquiries. Discover boundless creativity at DKJ Studio. Book with us today.
Okay, so those are the impacts that affect both students and stakeholders or the institutions. Recently, there was this sad news a few weeks back. It's about the closure of IH or International House. It's a school operating in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and here in Darwin. It's called International House. It was closed in December. Everyone, just got surprised. It was like sudden. On December 9, they just announced that it's going to cease its operation. According to the Australian government website at Department of Education, IH Sydney Training Services has already ceased its operation, and it took effect on December 9. It was sad, and a lot of students were displaced. They don't know. It's something that they did not see coming. And of course, it's like, what would happen to me? Fortunately, there are some school providers or education providers that stepped up. They opened their doors for those students, and they are welcome to enroll. They say that they are welcome to enroll to their colleges, and they are more than willing to assist in any way they can. One of those colleges or vocational colleges that stepped up is a partner school of ours, ICAE. So it was good. It somehow helped ease the burden of students and parents. I don't know. Personally, I don't know that if the closure of International House Sydney is an effect, is one of the manifestation of the dwindling international education sector. I hope not, because of course we try to remain positive on this despite of a lot of challenges. If you're asking how do we fare, how are the schools doing, how are the universities, how do they cope with this? Again, with our partner schools, they became more creative. They started to introduce other programs, and they start to tap the domestic markets, the local students. That's one of the very, very good strategies that they considered. A lot of changes are still going to be expected, and I think in Philippines, this work holiday visa that I hopefully would soon be implemented, it's still in the works. The Department of Home Affairs website has already mentioned that Philippines is having this partnership with the Australian government to have this work holiday visa. I thought it would be implemented this January, but when I checked the HA website, Philippines is not yet included in their drop-down list. So what is the significance of the work holiday visa holders or implementation of WHV to international education sector? Because it's going to, the WHV is open for people 18 to 30 years old, and it's a stepping stone. It's it's stepping stone, or it opens a lot of opportunities for WHV holders. Because when they come here, they can apply, they can work, and they maybe soon enough or eventually they find their employer to sponsor them for skilled work visa, or they can apply for student visa. We'll see. Hopefully, WHV would, help somehow revive the international education sector here, or address the shortage of labor, particularly here in the Northern Territory. Yeah, somehow, can I say that those news are gloomy? Challenging, yeah, but we have to be resilient. And I'm seeing that the partner schools, they're coping well. And they are, let's say, they don't lose hope, because they say that although this is the worst that they've been through in the many years that they've been in the industry, they remain hopeful and positive that, soon it will pass. These challenges will pass. And of course, on a lighter note, we recently celebrated the Australia Day. And the DKJ family, they participated in this Aussie Run. Yeah, it's like a yearly event. So the DKJ family, they participated, and that's one of the lighter news that we got recently. And with just a few months before the dry season, we expect more events, or we expect more people to come here to Darwin. Ganito yan eh, parang, the dry season is coming, and slowly we are seeing people coming here. The reopening of those pubs and restaurants in anticipation of a bigger crowd come April, even as early as March. So that's one of the, some of the lighter things or positive things that we look forward to, because we can expect, dry season is very festive here with the cooler weather and a lot of festivities happening, huge festivities actually from different nationalities, because Darwin, it's very multicultural. So that's one of the things that we are looking forward to. And definitely you can expect us, to feature those, or to at least give you a glimpse of those happening. I think that wraps up our episode for today. Again, this is the visa section. Join us again in our next episode. You can find our office at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin. Email us at skills@enhancednt.com.au. You can also contact us at 0879792352. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Substack. Give us a thumbs up if you find this podcast helpful. And that's for today. This is Anna, the Visa section, real stories behind the visas. Thank you for watching.